Since the genesis of the Me Too movement, many women and even some men have displayed some astronomical courage coming forward, breaking the silence about domestic violence and physical and mental abuse. Many brave individuals have shared their heartbreaking stories with the idea to band together and unify against their would-be assailants. Since its inception, there has been a great deal of victories that can alleviate some of the burden that can only come from keeping these heinous acts secret. There has also been detractors against the important movement and even some unfortunate losses for the victims. Every facet of the world has been affected by this movement. As such, every facet has its share of abusers and victims. And lately, it's been hitting our little corner of subculture in the Magic the Gathering community. Recently, pro player and podcast host Todd Stevens was outed for allegedly acting inappropriately and abusively toward women. And today, the date this video was recorded, another community member, Mary Louke, released a blog titled Never Ever Be the Same, chronicling her abusive relationship with community member AJ Soccer. Please note, I had no prior communication with Mary or AJ before this interview. AJ has already gone on record denying these allegations. I also reached out to him personally for comment with no response. The remainder of the video contains the exclusive interview between myself and Mary Louke. Thank you for joining me tonight, Mary. It's probably been quite a day for you.
Yeah, it really has been quite a day. Before we get into all the details, I do want to highlight that it's overwhelmingly been a positive day and supportive day for me. Out of the 5,000-ish people who have read my blog, I've only gotten one negative person harasser on Twitter. So it's been way more than I expected. I expected more backlash, and I could not be more thankful for everyone.
That's incredible. First off, I just want to start off by saying how inspired I am from your bravery just for breaking the silence and coming forward with this really difficult information.
Yes, it was really difficult for me. So as I mentioned in the tweet, if you have seen the tweet, I had this as a blog post as draft a year ago. I finished about 60% of it. I could not write the rest, and I could not bring myself to publish it. And so it took me, it's 4 years now after the fact. It took me 3 years to start talking about it. And, the 4th year to finally be like, I need to take control of the situation. Like, it's my story. I'm going to tell it. I'm not going to let someone else tell it for me anymore.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet. I mean, and I'm not even there might even be stuff in there that you that you may not have been able to say at this point. Is that fair to assume?
Well, so in the blog post, there's a section, it's titled The Murky Bits. And I honestly don't know everything that happened. I was talking to some other people who have been gaslighted also, and this weird thing happens where someone convinces you that your reality is wrong for so long that you just look back and you don't even know what the truth is anymore. So yeah, there's parts that I can't talk about, and there are parts that I'll probably never be able to talk about because I don't know if what I think is the truth or if it's not, and I don't want to be a liar.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I think you titled that segment of your blog perfectly in the murky bits, right? Because it's all kind of a blur. But I know you mentioned this next question already in your blog, but it's always the first question in these kind of situations that people ask. So we're just going to get it out of the way. So your relationship ended in 2014, and the article came out in 2018.
Yeah.
Why wait so long?
So as I just talked about it too, it took a really long time for me to, one, really process everything that had happened to me. Two, he made me feel like no one would believe me. And if I came out and talked, he would make sure that everyone knew, like, he was right, I was wrong. He had a lot of friends. No one knew who I was. And I just had this fear that, you know, I like playing Magic and I won't be able to show my face at Magic tournaments anymore. And so why talk? I risk so much by talking and gain a lot more by being silent, I guess, is how I saw it then. But, you know, now I realize that talking is really how it was like a cathartic process. Like I could gain some freedom from saying what happened to me.
I feel I know the answer of how it affected you emotionally. How did it affect you, even just like physically holding this in for so long?
Yeah. So AJ wasn't really in the Magic community for a little while. He did this thing where he fell off the map for about 2 years. And so during those 2 years, I tried to ignore that it happened. Not that that's an easy thing to do, but it was easier because he wasn't popping up all the time and people weren't talking about him all the time. And then really recently, he started resurfacing in the Magic community, and I had to deal with all these feelings that I had just buried deep inside me. And like hearing his name made me nauseous and anxious, give me like a pit in my stomach. Like hearing that he was going around being an advocate for women's rights, it made me like angry and sick and sad at the same time. But like it just all culminated in my stomach feeling super uneasy. And that's just like that direct physical. When we first broke up, I was kind of an alcoholic for like, I don't know, 8 months because I just could not deal with the reality of this person that I loved so much just like made me feel terrible about myself. And so those are kind of these two physical things that the relationship had on me, physical effects.
That's God, that's tough. And thanks for being very candid about that. I mean, you know, I've myself had my bouts with alcoholism and whatnot, but well, that's a whole other story, right? So it seemed to me in the write up that there's definitely an escalation with the verbal, you know, that started with verbal berating, evolving into full blown mental and physical abuse. What kept you engaged romantically with a person that was displaying these kind of characteristics?
Honestly, we had a great physical connection. And I think a lot of times in those super like high passion relationships, like maybe not abusive, but you fight a lot, like you always have a really good physical connection.
It's like the Notebook, right? That he's screaming at her at the end, just like we fight. That's what we do, right? Yeah,
Yeah. No, but aside from that,
yeah.
um, kind of the way abusive relationships work is they're really mean to you and then they're really nice and they make you feel really good and then they're really mean to you again. And so you remember, you know, I just have to get through this bad time to get back to the good times. Like, so I was looking for these emails that AGA sent to me, the mean ones that I referenced in the blog, where he said that uh basically I better stay hot forever because that's all I'm worth, or I'm a wannabe gamer and no one likes me. I was looking for those emails and then I remember that I deleted them because those words just, you know, they haunted me. I remember going back and reading the emails constantly whenever I felt bad about myself. And I would be like, you should feel bad. Look at how bad of a person you were. And finally someone was like, Mary, delete those. You don't want to do that to yourself. And I did. So I couldn't find them to post the pictures in the blog. But what I didn't delete, and I probably should have deleted, but I found the nice email that he sent me where he told me how much he loved me and like all the good parts of the relationship, which I read whenever I felt bad. So it's like, yeah, there were all these bad parts and mean parts, but there was also the like loving. He told me how much he loved me. He told me how I was the only person he wanted to be with. It's like they make you feel so good that when you feel bad, you're just trying to chase that again.
Yeah, and I could see why you would want to delete something like that. That's not something that I would want to keep, you know, a constant reminder of my shortcomings, right? Or my perceived shortcomings, because you know, just talk. I don't know you from Adam, but talking to you just for a couple minutes, I don't think, you know, that those things are true. So,
Well, thank you.
oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna read a few lines contained in your essay. So this is quoted right from you. Some of the things AJ called me were stupid, whore, liar, slut, monster. Some of the things he made me believe. You will never amount to anything. Rely on your looks as long as you can, because once they're gone, you have nothing going for you. No one will ever love you. So obviously, you were still very much suffering from those words. I mean, you didn't even know that that was kind of coming up, and I mean, that's abuse.
Yeah, I felt really horrible. Like my self-worth was in the trash when we finally broke up. I didn't think that I could do any better than AJ, so I would stay with him. I didn't think I deserved any better than AJ, so I stayed with him. Uh, it's not just me. Like this is a pretty typical behavior is they get you to stay by making you feel too bad about yourself to leave.
Yeah. The next quote is of the physical abuse between the two of you. This is quoting right out of your blog. He then grabbed me by the throat and held me against the wall. It was painful, but I couldn't breathe. What was going through your mind when this was all happening? I know there, you know, tensions were high, but what was, you know, where was at any point were you scared? What was really racing through your mind at that point?
So, wow. I can't believe I wrote that because it's hard to hear read back, actually. Um,
Sorry
AJ,
for, yeah, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I wrote it. I should be okay. It's just,
Yeah, but she also lived it, so I totally get it.
yeah, yeah. So AJ and I lived in a two-story apartment that had a staircase landing. You know, it like has like 5 stairs and then a landing and then like 5 more or whatever. And I was standing on the landing and he charges up the stairs at me. And I had no idea what was going to happen. I was like frozen in fear standing there. It was, my heart's racing right now just talking about it. It's honestly is one of the most petrifying situations because you want to think that nothing bad's going to happen, but you also know something bad probably will. It's like an unknown, but you don't want to run away from it because you want him to prove you wrong. You want him to do the right thing. A lot of things were running through my head to answer your question.
Sure. Yeah, I bet. And as I stated before in the intro, that I did try to reach out, you know, do my due diligence, reach out to AJ for comment. I did not receive a response at this time. But he did go on Twitter and I think Facebook too, saying that everything was false, that he would never kind of do these things. Was this the reaction that you expected?
Yes. I actually was expecting a lot worse. He did say he's coming out with a statement, and I'm terrified to see what that statement will say. I think he's going to attack my character, but I did not expect an apology. He, as I mentioned in the post, he denied it at the time. He basically threatened me, so I denied it at the time, and I didn't think anything would change. Like if 4 years ago he could scare me and get people to believe him, then why would anything be different now?
Yeah. And as you stated, like you just said, it's not over because his, I guess, official statement, we just got kind of you know,
Teaser.
yeah, right. We kind of did, but the real one hasn't come out yet. But besides that, and you know, once that happens, you know, there'll be fallout and all that as well. But just from the blog standpoint, it seems like you've had mostly positive responses, at least from what I've seen in social media. Like I think you mentioned you had maybe one weirdo, you know, just saying bad stuff. But besides that, it's been met with positive, you know, feedback and good wishes and all that. What does that mean to you now that your story's out in the open? And do you feel like you're able to kind of move forward positively in your life now that you have this monkey off your back?
I had a lot of fear that when I published my blog, people would not believe me. They would believe him. I've had some bad experiences with the Reddit community telling me to kill myself.
Oh,
basically, yeah, pleasant, you know.
who hasn't on Reddit? I mean, not to make light of it, but geez, yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of was just reminiscent of that and imagining the worst case and thought that would happen. And I'm very shocked by the positive response. Actually, like, I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm very shocked and pleased by the response. And I got a lot of people saying their story's similar. Thank you for sharing. You know, I'm not brave enough to share my own story. And that is really why I did it. That is what is meaningful to me, because I want these women to know, like, you come out, you can tell your story, and tons of people will have your back. Like, as I said, one weirdo, 6,000 good people. Like, I'll take that ratio any day. And I'm hoping it will help me move on more. Because as much as I have, you know, grown to be okay with the person that I am, I still have, you know, self-esteem issues. I still have problems thinking I'm good enough. And part of it is like carrying around this secret for years and never being able to feel like I can fully tell the truth about my background, my life with just anybody. And now that it's out there, like, everyone knows this is who I am. And if you like me, then let's be friends.
Do you feel a little bit of just like a weight lifted off your chest, at least with just putting it out there and not having to compartmentalize it all to yourself?
Depends when you ask. Yesterday I felt really good after I published it. I kind of felt like a badass, if we're being honest. This morning I woke up and I was like, oh no, AJ's gonna respond. AJ's gonna respond. And I like had a little bit of a panic attack. But then over the course of the day, and I was getting positive responses, I felt good. So it's a roller coaster. I think maybe ask me that question in a week from now and I'll have a better answer.
Perfect. We'll do a follow-up. No. So, but seriously, Mary, once again, I want to applaud your bravery for not only telling your story and kind of advocating, you know, against abuse, but being brave enough to come on here and talk about it with me. This is invaluable, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's really not just for me and for me moving on. It's really important to me that women know that it's okay. I know that there are other men in the Magic community who use their status to prey on women, and it's not okay. And not everyone's willing to come forward yet. And I want people to know they can come forward and the community will support them.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, where can everyone find the blog?
So my blog is blauke.blogspot.com, which is my last name plus blog meshed together. Super cool. You can also see it on my Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Mary_Louke, Louke. So.
Perfect. There are numerous websites and hotlines to contact if you find yourself a victim to domestic abuse, whether that be physical, verbal, or sexual. The one that I want to share is www.thehotline.org, or call directly the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So thank you again, Mary, for coming on and chatting with me. So until next time, Planeswalkers, I'll see you all in the multiverse.